A warm welcome to all of you on this webinar on academia to industry aimed at pharmacy students. We at PharmaElite welcome you all for this webinar on academia to industry. The main reason to come up with this concept of academia to industry A2I has been the gap which is existing between our curriculum and the industry requirements. So we all study a lot, we hard work a lot, we read a lot, we spend many sleepless nights, but reading something which is not sufficient for what industry needs. So we at Pharma Elite basically want to bridge this gap by doing sessions like Academia to Industry Connect, where with the help of A2I, we will be bridging this gap where we'll be addressing the things which industry needs and make students practically ready as well as from the academic curriculum. So it's not only the theoretical aspect which is required at industry, but along with theoretical aspect, we also tap upon the practical things required in our industry. With the support of all our eminent speakers for today's webinar, I would like to introduce all of them today on this webinar on Academia to Industry Connect. Our first speaker for the day is Dr. Parizad ma'am. So Parizad Elshidana, she has been Chief Technical Officer for Pharma ACG. Parizad ma'am has parallelly been a President for Controlled Release Society Indian Chapter. She has been Managing Director for Apotex Research and IVAX, which is now Teva Pharma. She has also been Chief Technical Officer for Pharmax Pharmaceuticals, which was based at Dubai. After Parizad ma'am, we have with us Mala ma'am. Mala ma'am has basically being a adjunct professor for pharmaceutics at Bombay College of Pharmacy. She has 35 plus years of work experience, including industry as well as academia. She has got grants for various projects from different sponsored industries as well as different government projects. She has also been an executive member for Society for Pharmaceutical Dissolution Science. Further, we have with us Dr. Amita Karnik. So, Amita ma'am will be there for the session addressing different things which are required at industry level. So Dr. Amita Karnik has pursued her BPharm, MPharm and PhD from Bombay College of Pharmacy. She has also done management program diploma from Wellinger Institute of Pharmacy. Wellinger Institute. At the same time, she has been director technical for Peltech Healthcare, Emicon RX and Optimal Nutrients and APR CPL. Going further, we have with us Dr. Varsha Pradhan. So Dr. Varsha Pradhan has pursued her MPharm from Institute of Chemical Technology way back in 1980s. She had done her PhD from NMIMS. She has 26 plus years of work experience in different areas for companies like GSK, Cipla. She has been a project leader at Sandoz. She was also associated with Sidwim Life Sciences. And presently, she is a consultant, regulatory affairs, and post market vigilance at Asia Actual India Private Limited. Further, we have with us Dr. Hema Nair. She is associate professor at Sri Venkateswara College of Pharmacy. She has pursued her BPharm and MPharm from Mumbai University. At the same time, she has experience of 15 plus years and she has been a referee for several national and international journals in the field of drug delivery technology. And we have with us Dr. Azaz Hussain sir. So Dr. Azaz Hussain has pursued her bachelor's from Bombay College of Pharmacy in 1981, last batch for 3 years of B Pharmacy. Further, sir went on to pursue his PhD from University of Cincinnati in 1986. He has 30 plus years of work experience. Further, sir has also been a part of US FDA from the year 1995 to 2005. He is also a member board of director for Valgenesis. So, with this brief description about all our speakers for the webinar, we would like to welcome them all and a big thanks to all of you for your time in order to address this big academia to industry gap. And with the support of you all with this years of experience and knowledge, we would like to add on to the students' domain right now itself so that when they go to industry, they are all ready with the required skill set at industry levels. So, with this brief introduction, we would now move to the recorded session of the entire webinar. So, it's around 55 minutes of recording. After this recording, at the end, we will be having a Q&A session with all our speakers in. Our speakers are session. They will be there till the end. So, I request you all to listen to the entire recording. And at the end, we'll have a live Q&A in your presence. We'll have one-to-one question answer session. And we also have few gifts for our registrants. So wait back till the end. Let's get going. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dharmesh, for once again organizing a discussion on academia to industry. What are the challenges? What are the gaps? And how do we fill those gaps? I wish to take a few minutes to explain why academia to industry discussion is so important. In quote unquote normal circumstances, many of us struggle to be good practitioners in laboratories, clinics, and manufacturing facilities of pharmaceutical corporations. In an epoch of unprecedented changes in the ways we work and live, we must make sense of chaos in the juxtaposing tensions between Internet of Things, the fourth industrial revolutions, and the pandemic. Academia to Industry 2020 is a unique opportunity to understand meaning making of pharmaceutical development and manufacturing and to give ourselves a chance to develop as professionals and continue our development with good practices. There will always be rocks in the road ahead of us. They will be stumbling blocks or stepping stones. It all depends on how you use them. To be aware and to be prepared. Beyond our education and training, the formalized education and training, professional development depends on our ability to learn from our experience. Experiential learning is absolutely necessary to succeed individually and collectively to be pharmacy to the world. The academia to industry 2020 discussion will bridge education and training, your formal education and training, with a way to learn from your experience. In this discussion, you can expect to understand what are the gaps from an academic perspective, get to know the industry big picture, understand the gaps in our experiential learning from an industry perspective, know how we are planning to bridge what is familiar to you as part of your education with our course modules that we are developing, uh, and how we are connecting the dots to fill the gaps that will facilitate your continual professional development with real world case examples that allow you to experience from others' experiences. Learn from others' mistakes so that you don't repeat those same mistakes. So sit back and listen carefully and seek to understand the different perspectives and perhaps a way forward that will resonate with what you need to move forward with confidence. Remember, quality assurance is a important attribute. Without assurance, one does not achieve the therapeutic outcomes in the real world, what we claim on the basis of controlled, randomized, placebo controlled trials.
Thank you, Dr. Ajaz, for the introductory remarks. Greetings, dear students, faculty, and invited guests. It is a pleasure to interact with you in this forum of A2I, especially with the students, because they are the future of the pharmacy profession of our country. I will address the academia perspective of gaps. Having been in the academia for around 35 years and also spent about 2 years in the pharma industry before joining academia. I'm sure that all of you students will be happy that you have chosen pharmacy because it offers a very bright career. There are several avenues and opportunities, be it in the industry, the community pharmacy, research, marketing, regulatory, quality assurance, or academics. The common goal or objective, wherever you may be in the profession of pharmacy, is dedication towards the patient care and health of the nation. Pharmacy had very humble beginnings in the form of the dispensing pharmacist, which has expanded over the years into industrial pharmacy and community pharmacy. In 1980s and 1990s, the role of the pharmacist in healthcare system has been recognized by the WHO. In the several meetings convened, guidelines have evolved in directing the education and training of pharmacists, both for the industry role and the community role, where the pharmacist would be dedicated towards public health and patient care. Now, when we look at our country, India, this community role has still not evolved. We still have our courses and syllabi dedicated more towards the industry pharmacy. Our pharmacy education in India is governed by TCI and AICTE. There are more than 4,000 institutions in India, most of them being privately managed. With these huge numbers, it is felt that the quality of education is slowly eroding. Government has put in several regulations and initiatives to encourage improvement of the institutions and the quality of education, which include the accreditation process, several awards being instituted, and the ranking federation, so that the colleges among themselves will be motivated to improve their levels. There is also RUSA, which is a Maharashtra government initiative, where it is a group of industry and academia, where the industry will be involved in training the faculty. The curriculum for pharmacy, based on the various guidelines, is very extensive. And all of you students have gone through the curriculum, so you're aware that so many subjects are being taught to you. Now, I know it is often considered a burden studying so many subjects, but basically, this is very important for holistic educational foundation to build on. So if the foundation is laid down in the institution and you have to build up on this knowledge by experiential learning as you progress in the profession, in whichever realm of the profession you are. That is one of the guidelines or parameter in all the NBA and other evaluation bodies, lifelong learning. In spite of all these ideal goals, the good syllabi, there is a big gap which is evident between industry and academia. This has been discussed, published, and several solutions have been offered. But this gap was not evident in the early days, say in the 1970s to 1990s. But in this millennium, this gap is very much evident and it has been expanding or widening. And if you try to probe into why this gap exists or why is it occurring, at the academic front, we have the exam oriented and mark oriented system where the student studies only to get marks. Understanding the basic principles and using this knowledge for future professional areas is limited. Institutions suffer from budgetary constraints and they are not able to mimic the industry in the institution with respect to facilities, equipments. The faculty again have a lot of problems with respect to increased academic overload because of this e-portals and the documentation required by NBA and other such initiatives. Further, several of the young faculty, especially in the interiors, do not have the industry exposure. There is a lack of correlation and integration of the curriculum, and hence this affects the students. Industry is in a continuous balancing act, balancing costs, time, trying to follow the CGMPs and the regulations, and there is limited industry institute collaboration. This is limited to research in very few institutions. There are often seminars conducted with institutions, training and internship, which should be the core of the interaction, where the student is exposed to the industry for a long period of time and he learns through experience the industry skills, is able to imagine and understand the vastness of the industry compared to what he has done in the college. This would be the major step in closing this gap. On the student and social issues, we are in an internet age. This has been addressed by Dr. Ajaz. Social media platforms, peer pressure, changing values. An important aspect is the information overload. Yes, all the information is available in the internet at the click of a button. However, what is important is what you've learned should be integrated and you should be able to sift and see through the information, draw out the essence of it, and draw useful, meaningful conclusions. This is a very big gap in today's world. There is reduced attention span and an erosion of critical thinking, drifting away from the rigors of science and technicalities. And the students often want to settle for a cozy job where there are not too many responsibilities. Thus, the hardcore industry or research openings are not sought after jobs. This has been compounded by the chaos of the pandemic, lockdowns, and this has increased the challenges. I think all of you students have experienced this, the online lectures suddenly, the online exams, without being geared up to it. The institutions are not geared up to it, nor are the students. Thus, slowly, probably in the future, we need to drift towards virtual education and still be able to realize the real experiences in the industry. And this is what A2I is trying to build in. The team of experts have developed various approaches which we hope will narrow this gap and ensure that students are able to transition into the profession more easily. Thank you. Now, Dr. Amita will address you and give you more insights into the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.
Congratulations to the class of 2020. We welcome you to a professional career in the pharma industry. You are now transitioning as an individual student to a member of a corporate team and joining a community of pharmaceutical knowledge. Let us now overview the pharma industry. I am Dr. Amita Karnik, as introduced by Mr. Dharmesh, with 28 years of experience, of which 17 years have been as an entrepreneur in a pharmaceutical manufacturing company, a contract research organization, and training. Let us overview the big picture. We all know that the purpose of the industry is to discover, develop, acquire, regulatory approval, manufacture, distribute, and market pharmaceutical products adhering to laws and regulations, apart from supplying what is required by the healthcare sector. The industry works on the basic premise of innovation, along with affordable medicines and the access to population for all the developed treatment regimes. Industry players work in diverse areas such as prescription products, OTC products, branded and generics. Medicines are chemical based or biotechnology based. In our country, the manufacturers range from large scale manufacturers to the MSME and the small scale industries. Let us look at the global trends which have a financial impact. The pharma sector worldwide has been projected to grow by 160% from 2017 to 2030. And with the biggest growth forecast given for India with 232%. Generics generated 79 billion US dollars in prescription drug revenue worldwide. Until 2026, the global prescribed generics market is expected to exceed 100 billion US dollars. Excluding the generics and orphan drugs, the worldwide sales for prescriptions was $589 billion in 2012, but it increased to 1.25 trillion in 2019. In 2019, biotechnology accounted for 266 billion US dollars in drug revenue, while conventional drugs accumulated 469 billion US dollars. Other unclassified technology accounted for 179 billion US dollars of revenue. Let us look at the advantage India has. India is able to compete in the world market due to its cost efficiency, where the cost of production is low. There is a large boost of R&D in the industry to keep up with the international market trends. Increased exports from India in pharma and drug formulations has been more than $20.8 billion only in generics in the last year, and has shown an increase even in these chaotic times. Economic drivers such as globalization of science and technology also helps in giving the industry a boost. The government gives policy support Pharma Vision 2020 is aimed at making India the global leader. Importance has been given to end-to-end manufacturing, that is, manufacturing of APIs to finished products, along with the required ancillary pharma industry. Increasing investment has shown that mergers and acquisitions are taking place in brownfield projects since the FDI is around 74%. In new projects, that is greenfield projects, 100% FDI is allowed in the automatic route. The best is the enormous talent pool that India has. Every year, more than 40,000 pharmacy graduates pass out. Allied life science graduates as well as engineers enter the pharma and the allied industry. What is the industry looking for? The industry is looking for new employees who should have some workplace exposure. They should know their responsibilities and expectations in the department that they enter. Good oral and written communication skills with their seniors and peers. Taking up complete ownership of allocated work. Delivering on quality output. Learning on real-time tasks takes the graduates much ahead in their jobs. Look at the trends dominating in 2020. AI-aided drug design and IoT are driving Pharma 4.0. AI-aided drug design is helping scientists to discover the new drugs using AI-based data analytics to find the best cure to the particular disease. AI can slash drug designing time from years to days, saving cost and time while shortening the drug production cycle so they reach patients faster. From the revolutionary wave of Pharma 4.0, it has begun to improve the manufacturing of drugs and increased productivity, has led to better patient care. The convergence of AI and IoT within the industry is assisting in opening the industry to a new set of services and solution offerings. The next trend is in silico trials. These are experiments conducted by means of computer simulation. Automated information processing with data analytics has shown improvement of efficiencies within each function in the pharma industry, especially within manufacturing and supply chain, where the implementation of operational excellence has been used. This reduces the cycle time and variable expenses while increasing yield and maintaining the documentation and data required for regulatory science. Around the pill strategy is another point, which is the mantra for the new pharma companies, where the drugs are linked to digital health technologies. Where does the new graduate stand in this scenario? Are you competing with AI? The industry is exponentially improving with advanced technologies, both in research-based products and higher automated, highly productive machines. It has been said that the Pharma 4.0 operating model is a sum total of the Industry 4.0 plus the ICH guidelines. The graduates need to have digital maturity. They need to learn data integrity by design, which overall covers the Pharma 4.0. In the uncertainty and changing expectations of today's chaotic times, there are extreme impacts on economic, financial, and healthcare. This has put you at a crossroad at deciding your career path. You are seeking guidance, help, assistance, and that is where the A2I team comes in to fill your gap. Education, training, and experience are the three pillars for getting a good job, and keeping a job is an occupation. It is a continuous learning. Jobs that require just following an SOP are now targeted for AI based automation. The need today is to be suitable and capable to identify and solve problems before a process and product quality failure is noted. Hence, beyond education and training, experiential learning is a key to transform an occupation to a profession. That brings me to the end of my talk. As you all know, that you have come to the end of your college careers and are looking forward to your industry career. As Khalil Gibran says, when you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you need to sense. A similar saying, and very aptly said by Russell Ackoff, outside the school, the problems are not given. They come to you suddenly. They have to be taken, extracted from complex situations. And this is where the sense making of your future begins. Thank you very much. And with this, I hand over to our next speaker, Dr. Farizad Elchida.
Thanks, Amita. Good evening, everyone. I'm Parizad Elchidana. With 35 years of industrial experience, I will be sharing with you my perspective of the gaps which are existing between academia and industry expectations. So let's have a look at what are these gaps that we are talking about? Do they really exist? And what can we do about satisfying both industry and the academic requirements? Coming to the next slide on overview of the healthcare industry, everyone is aware that India ranks third in terms of volume and 14th in terms of value. And as per what has been described by Amita, the pharma industry has seen a growth in the CAGR right from 2015 to 2020, going up from 30 billion US dollars to 55 billion. By 2020, India was likely to be amongst the top three pharma markets by incremental growth and sixth largest market globally in absolute size. And even considering the cost of production, which is significantly lower here in India, it gives us a competitive edge over others. I would just like to share with you that this data which has been presented was a pre-COVID data, and this may be subject to change. However, no one can challenge the trend that the pharma industry has seen, which has always been on the upward side. So is the Indian healthcare industry ready to take on the predicted growth and global market challenges? Yes, the industry may be ready with the infrastructure which can be put in, but is the right talent available? And that, my dear friends, is something which we would be looking for from your end. So what are the gaps which are existing, and as per the industry perspective, I would like to present those. Firstly, academia mainly deals with theory. There is very little attention paid to applications and practicality. Emphasis is there on documentation, but is it the right documentation? Do we have SOPs in place? Do we have the required document for the various policies? Are they signed off? Have everyone been trained on those documentations? It's a big question mark for academia, but in industry, it's a must. Apart from documentation, data management takes a very important role in industry. Why? The reason is, apart from manufacturing products, in industry we manufacture huge amount of data. And to manage this data with respect to the data storage, the data archival, the integrity maintenance of the data, the various sign-offs, the not just the data entry, but checked by, authorized by, approved by, all these aspects take a lot of importance in industry. These aspects I feel should be built in from academic stage itself, wherein as and when we are doing our lab studies, the moment we enter our results, it should be done directly in our lab notebooks and not in rough notebooks, and signed off by the supervisors there and then. The regulators are also moving away now from paper documentation to e-documentation to electronic copies. This needs to be put in place and trained even in the academia side. Coming to technological advancements, the industry is moving ahead on the technological front, but we do see and we feel that academia is slightly lagging behind. This too can be taken care of by having people from industry coming over to academics and taking sessions with them with virtual visualizations of the technologies which are existing. Alternatively, the students and the academicians can go to the industry for site visits and have a look at the various technologies that have been put in place. Infrastructure availability, we are quite understanding of the fact that the colleges may not have the infrastructure which the industry expects, but still we can try and build together and have plans in place on how this particular gap can be filled up. Regulatory updates is a very important aspect. And once again, over here, we find that academia lags behind. The regulations move ahead at a very fast pace, whereas in academia, what is being taught would be something which was a few years earlier. And this is the main reason why we say the current regulations should be the ones that need to be taught. And that's why even our GMP, the good manufacturing practices, has a C attached to it. Why? Because we want it to be current good manufacturing practices. Validation and calibration, another pain point. Validation is not really very well understood and taught in academics. Validation is a very key requirement for each and every activity that is carried out in industry, whether it is equipments, installations, whether it is instrumentation, installations and their usage, whether they are procedures, methods, everything needs to be in a state of validation. Because any data which is generated from a system or an equipment or an instrument which is not in a validated state is not acceptable. And there have been instances where batches have been recalled and rejected at the manufacturer's end. Apart from validation, all equipments, instruments need to be in a state of calibration at the point of use. The calibration schedules may be daily calibrations, say for example, your pH meters, or calibration at the time of use. Once again, you can consider a pH meter as an example, or calibration of other instruments based on the schedule on which the calibration dates have been set. These activities are very key critical for the regulatory requirements. Time management once again is considered as a bit of an issue with academics, because many industries who have put in projects with academia have complained that in academics never deliver the projects on time. This is a big pain point, and I do believe that with a little bit of project management, the principles behind project management, if they are covered in academia, one should definitely be able to succeed in providing the responses on time. Communication was touched upon by Amita earlier. Yes, there is a gap on written and oral communication. But one thing I would like to share with you all, that last year on the virtual platform, I did attend a lot of presentations for the posters and of abstracts. And believe me, the presentations were excellent. The students had presented with such confidence their data which they had generated, and even the question and answer sessions were handled very confidently. So I do see that there is a bit of an improvement on the communications front. Exposure to Pharma 4, artificial intelligence, automation, IoT, Internet of Things, IoT, industry Internet of Things are the things which industry, pharma industry is now looking at. We are moving forward with it. It would be good to have the academics also some exposure in this area so that a little bit of gap can be closed. Data analytics and statistics, once again, a very, very important topic because data is generated, data is archived, but data is never ever reviewed. One needs to review the data, do a deep dive, and convert all the information that you have into knowledge and use that particular knowledge for further improvement on the processes, on the performance, on the yields, and basically on the quality of the product. A bit of statistics is always involved in data management, and that's where if some statistics is exposed at the graduation stage, it would be a good idea. So coming to how would we bridge the gap? Revision and alignment of curricula is already happening. They are including industry requirements on that, but it cannot be a one-time procedure. It has to be updated on a periodic basis. Industry experienced teachers and professors, if they can come and take classes, nothing like it. Invite industry professionals over for sharing their experience and insight with the students. Industry internships do exist, but one needs to have rigorous control from the academic side for monitoring the interns. And at the same time, the academicians need to work very closely with industry and set up certain standards for delivering during the internship program. So, what is the path forward? The path forward is students need to look at and attend some well devised professional development programs which will facilitate their own development, and those are the programs which will help to bridge the gap by just one peg being put in place and not having to have the industry working separately and the academia working separately to bridge the gap as per the picture shown on the left hand side. So thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you. And I would further hand.
Thank you, my teammates, for that eye opening discussion. A very good evening to pharmacy students and faculty, and to the invited guests who have joined us today. This is Dr. Hema Nair, an academician for the past 20 plus years, with a close ringside view of the industry too. Dear students, the pharma industry does have innumerable career and growth opportunities for all of you. But as we've just heard, that despite the best efforts of the schools as well as the students, fresh pharmacy graduates and postgraduates fall short of the expectations from the industry in terms of both skill sets and mindset. And it is here that we, the A2I team, would like to step in and try to bridge this gap. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. Learning does not end with your college years, my dear students. In fact, as you pause after your graduation or post graduation, or maybe even with your PhDs, you must look at this junction as the beginning of a new learning journey. We, the A2I team, have put in place a concept to help you out with this beginning. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to this concept. We have compiled smartly designed modules based on case studies and an experiential learning approach covering four critical areas you can choose from, namely pharmaceutical manufacturing operations, quality assurance, research and development, and regulatory sciences. Our attempts will be focused largely on enabling your critical thinking abilities so that you are more competent to apply the knowledge acquired from your pharmacy curriculum to the industrialized process of making quality pharmaceutical products. Dear students, this is your opportunity to learn from the experiences of more experienced people and to be mentored by them on a long term basis. We begin all our modules with a common introductory section intended to build in our participants the ability to apply learning, engage in self development, and also imbibe the quality culture, besides familiarization with general GMP and GDP requirements. The first of the four key areas where we have the experience sharing platform is pharmaceutical operations. This relates to understanding the functions of the key team, which translates into reality the very purpose of existence of the industry, manufacturing medicines for the world. In this module, we attempt to familiarize you with what goes on into the challenging task of producing quality pharmaceuticals in a highly regulated environment. Beginning with facility design, scale up considerations, unit processes, the engineering and equipment aspects will all be dealt with. In today's world, medications need to be manufactured with high efficiency to keep up with the competitive prices and timelines for survival of the industry. This has led to an ongoing major shift in traditional manufacturing practices, and ideas such as continuous manufacturing may soon become a reality. Exposure to such upcoming trends is also intended as part of this module. All pharma manufacturing activities are integrated with measures to ensure quality, and there should be no compromise on this respect. And this is where we come in with our second module on quality. With quality requirements being redefined from a reactive or quality control to a proactive or quality assurance strategy, it is essential that a quality culture needs to be ingrained into an individual aspiring to be a quality assurance professional. The present module will cover quality management systems and all measures within its gambit, including the philosophy and practices of quality audits, change management, validation, verification, qualification, and risk management systems. Well, that's it from me as of now, and I hand over the session to Dr. Varsha Pradhan for taking this discussion forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hema. Hello, students, faculty, and invited guests. I am Dr. Varsha Pradhan, and I have been working for the last 26 years in various organizations, which includes both pharmaceutical industry and academia. I would like you to understand what to expect in the module of formulation development and regulatory science. You might wonder, is regulatory a science? Did you ever realize that regulatory science can be an integral part of R&D? Well, in a typical college setup, unless it is an industry-sponsored project, you don't think about the commercial aspects, do you? For most of you, a research project ends up with a degree along with publications in high impact factor journal or possibly a patent. That's where one misses on the application of regulatory science to research, which ensures timely delivery of evidence based medicine to the market without any economic loss. We, the A2I team, in Module 3, would take you through the fundamentals of ICH M3 quality module, which includes pre-formulation studies, API selection, vendor approvals, available excipient database, and QBD, leading to the selected formulations on stability. The real test of your formulation is when it goes for scale-up and technology transfer. That's where you need to understand the crucial aspects of pharmaceutical engineering. Troubleshooting exercises will be done via case studies. Validation studies are essential to give the reproducibility, leading finally to the much assured quality product. The course in regulatory science We'll start with strategy of product launch as per country requirements, which will give you the flavor of international business. You will also be exposed to DMF with practical training, dossier preparations, understanding the GMP GDP requirements, and filings for India, USA, EU, and other countries. So, come join us, and we shall take you through our experiential learning process. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Ajaz.
Now that we have listened to several perspectives, let's reflect and select and connect the dots. In the context of academia to industry, that important transition phase for students, what gaps are there and how do we fill these gaps? How do we fill these gaps on our own and how do we fill these gaps collectively? Continuous professional development is key to success, key to a successful career. Beyond formal education and training, it requires us to learn from experience of self and of others. Experience is practical contact with events and things in the real world. Experience, by definition, also is to feel those emotions that are generated when we interact with the things in the real world. So how does one learn from our own experience, but also learn from others' experience is a key component of the gap that we need to fill. Learning from experience of others, particularly in the context of the regulations, say, for example, the US regulations from the GMP inspection to the review process, complete response letters, Form 483 observation that FDA inspectors record. Many of these documents are available under the Freedom of Information Act. So here, for example, I'm showing you a spiral pie chart of all the 483 observations FDA recorded in 2019. Each of those slices reflects a different subchapter citation in the 21 CFR regulation. Infusing real-world case examples in the course modules within the context of the gaps that we have perceived from academia, from industry, and understanding the needs of the industry is a key component of experiential learning through a well-defined, well-designed course curriculum that builds on real-world case examples. Experience is to feel emotions, and sensing heartbeats allows us to consciously experience the process by which information is converted to knowledge. Growing up in India, the notion of dil se was essentially memorization. Over the years, thinking about dil se has reminded me that dil se is memorization, not just by repetition, but with understanding. And that's part of our human development. That's what it means to be human. System design, integrative, holistic, careful thinking is an essential element of adult human development, an essential element of professional development. It is like six blindfolded men trying to describe an elephant. We have to be able to remove our blindfolds and see a problem from multiple perspectives. And that's an important aspect of experiential learning, that real world case examples designed exclusively with that in mind can generate those emotions so that we learn by understanding. Uncertainty and changing expectations is a fact of life. Today, we worry about the revolution, the pandemic, and we are uncertain about what the new world will look like. That is just a natural progression of evolution. Whether we take it in the context of biotechnology evolution, virus directed evolution, or evolution broadly. Being aware, being consciousness is the way that information feels when it is processed in certain ways that it becomes knowledge. The difference between information and knowledge is the key. The information you might receive in a course is often readily available. It is just a matter of letting your fingers do the walking. But the key is to convert information to knowledge. And knowing the difference between information and knowledge is another key aspect that we need to consider. Experiential learning begins with an objective, open mind for many subjects. To be suitable and capable of making good sense of patterns we experience in mind and matter. It is to go from 95% confidence interval or 2 sigma to 6 sigma. Education, training, and experience is the foundation of the regulations. And simple ways of understanding those regulations. What is good? Looking good, being good, doing good are all stages in adult human development. Looking good, we can relate to as teenagers. Being good, not rocking the boat, tell me what to do. And then being self-assured to give others assurance, you're self-authored, then you are able to do good and not just look good and not just be afraid of not looking bad. That's a simple way of thinking about professional development. These stages, looking good, being good, and seeing good, are nested like a Russian doll. We always want to look good, but we also want to look good while we are doing good and not just being good because somebody else says this is what you need to do to be good. So self-assurance is a key to giving others assurance. And as I reminded towards the end of my introduction, placebo and nocebo effects are real effects. They're psychosomatic. Yes, they're psychological component, but there's physiological component to that too. We feel those effects as real. So therapeutic outcome in the real world depends on the assurance of quality we provide to the patients, to the healthcare providers, and to the public. To give others assurance, we need to be self-assured, and self-authorship of SOPs that we have to follow, to the policies we have to enforce, is a key stage in adult professional development. Self-authorship, not cut and paste. Experiential learning should be your USP, your unique selling proposition, or United States pharmacopoeia. No. Experiential learning is your unique sensing proclivity. And taking the regulatory guidances, the principles of good practices, one can internalize these things so that we manage our uncertainty, we manage our expectations as we manage knowledge and risk in our corporate world. So the elements of pharmaceutical quality elements, such as corrective actions, preventive actions, can become elements of professional development. In the world of 21st century quality and cures, internal validation and external validation are two key aspects that one need to focus on. And we achieve internal validation, being self-assured, self-authored, to give convince others that we are validated, I think is a key. A stage in adult development, doing good, is when you know you're self validated. You're not seeking external validation. You're not waiting for FDA inspection to tell you what gaps exist. That's an important stage in professional development. Care is research, knowledge is power, wisdom is in practice. That's the underlying theme of achieving one quality voice, listening to the voice of patients, and filling the gaps delta between R&D, manufacturing, and real-world commercialization of pharmaceuticals. Bridging the gap between academia to industry is a natural journey. We all go through it. Knowing that experiential learning is key to that success often is realized late in life. I wish I knew that when I was graduating from getting my Bachelor of Pharmacy from Bombay College of Pharmacy, University of Mumbai. Now is an opportunity for us, the seniors, to share our experience with you, to help you bridge that gap between academia and industry on your journey forward. Journey forward is from chaos to continual improvement. That has been true before the pandemic. It will remain true after the pandemic. Thank you for listening, and we'll be glad to answer a few questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for ending it on a good note. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving us an overview about how the different gaps are existing between industry and academia, and we soon need to fill them up if we have to balance it with what the industry needs. Before we go ahead, just like all of you to have maybe one advice for the upcoming future of pharmaceutical industry. Let it be B Pharm, M Pharm, or even PhDs. We all are at some or the other gap. We are not totally industry ready. So if all of you can just have one addressing, if possible, it would be great for all the participants. Varsha ma'am, can we start in?
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. And we, the A2I team, are there for you. Please, come to us and we'll help you sort it out. Thank you so much.
Azad sir, over to you.
Well, I think one question that was posed on the YouTube chat was, what's the real difference between academia and industry in terms of, I think, foundational aspect? I think the key is our responsibility and expectations change. What is expected of us and what our responsibility is dramatically different going from academia to industry. And academia is there to help us gather all the information to have good sense-making abilities. But industry or wherever you go after academia, you have to take responsibility for your actions and your decisions. And I think that is one of the stages or differences that we need to consider.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Parizad ma'am.
Yeah, there is a question on what is the key difference between industry and academia according to you. I would like to answer that question from the industry perspective. In academics, we are dealing more with the theoretical aspects, and which was one of the first points which I had put in. These same aspects need to be put into practice in industry, and how we do it is what industry will teach. So bringing some of us industry experts who have long years of experience in industry to this particular session of A2I, we will be sharing our hardcore experiences whilst we take a bit of theory. And not just that, we will also be looking at certain case studies, how things need to be solved practically at the industry end. So this, I feel, is the biggest difference. Say, for example, theoretically, we learn a lot on quality management systems, but have we ever drafted a document or an SOP or a policy or a procedure? No. Whereas this is what's required in industry. So all these practicalities will be taken up, as and when we deal with those subjects in this particular A2I session. So I hope I have answered the questions. If anyone else would like to add on, please feel free.
Amita ma'am, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our session. I would say that the main difference between the academia and industry is the in the academic field, the student only learns for himself. It is for his own graduation, his own information. But when you join the industry, you have to work in a team. There is a lot of coordination that has to be done on various different aspects, may it be the quality management system. Even if you work in a production department, you have to coordinate with the other. There is a lot of cross linking between the work that is done. So the communication skills have to be very good. In the regulatory affairs also, there's a lot of coordination. A lot of review work has to be done as per the requirement of different countries, different dossier requirements. So all in all, I would say that the student has to make themselves aware that they are going to work in a team and they have to learn a lot on their way. We bring this kind of training with case studies and experiential learning in our course. And the main thing is we mentor you as to where and what you should be doing to see and make sense of your future. Thank you.
Mala ma'am.
Mala, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for being in this giving your presence at this A2I session. I'm sure you have heard from all the academicians and the industry personnel. I would like to say that one of the major difference between academia and the industry is the sheer volume and the vastness in the industry. From what my perspective, what you prepare the students, what you prepare in the labs, there is a lot of practicals, there is a lot of learning. However, what you're making are small batches. Whereas in the industry, you need to translate and understand the huge batches and the high speed. Second is there are a lot of steps in between. In the practicals, when you do, you're given everything ready, right? There is a lot of spoon feeding, which will be missing in the industry. You have to be on your own. And as Dr. Ajaz has said, the self validation and the continuous learning. I think all of you are aware in the accreditation, there is a lifelong learning. So, lifelong professional learning is important. Your learning does not end with getting your degree. You have to continue to learn and experience the things at each and every step in your career. So, that is most important. Thank you.
There's one question in the chat box which says, what are the different sources to minimize this industry academia gap? So it can be industry sessions, but other than that, what are the different other sources in order to minimize this A2I gap? Over to you, Azaz sir.
I think one of the reasons for creating an opportunity to fill the gap was A2I. And if you, I would actually pass that question to Mala ma'am and Parizad and others to answer that question from an India perspective.
Okay, just repeat the question.
What are the different sources in order to bridge this academia to industry gap?
One of the things that I find, especially in the recent times, now earlier days, I think most of us faculties who have joined, the senior faculty, you will see that they always have a stint of industry experience. So they have experienced the industry and they have come to teach. which is missing nowadays. Most of them directly after their degrees, they join academia. So there is a missing link. So I think we should train the teachers. The teachers need to be given an industry exposure so that they have a good understanding of the industry. Uh, a lot of theoretical knowledge, therefore, is sometimes passed on without really understanding by the faculty themselves. So this is one missing link. We try to address whenever we teach all the points. Now, for example, vendor audit. Vendor audit is something which needs to be emphasized on the students, right? The source of the raw materials. So these are some missing links which need to be uh, told to the students when they are in the lectures or the practicals, right? Validation I find is very difficult for students to understand, and real life concrete examples have to be given to the students. Now, for example, validation, when you're teaching, you need to tell them something like, it's like a warranty for a process. So these are some of the small things that I have understood in teaching over the years. I think
Thank you, ma'am.
Parizad or yeah.
Farizad,
So,
ma'am, there's one more. Yeah, continue,
if
ma'am.
if
Sorry.
I may add, if I may add
Yeah,
to this particular point, inviting experts from industry over to take some special lectures would be a very good way to bridge this gap. Another thing is you can have some focused workshops or training programs, like example which Mala has taken, validation. Like I did a 2-day focused workshop with ICT on validation itself, where we just don't learn about validation, but we also teach them how to draft documents for validation, like say for example validation protocols, what all needs to be validated. And believe me, the students and the faculty were in for a surprise that this is the amount of validation that goes into a pharma industry. So probably these are the 2 points which would really help academia to try and bridge the gap on topics where there is a lacuna, which I have pointed out in my presentation.
thank you, ma'am. There's one question in the chat box which says that as we know that we are focusing more on manufacturing in spite of getting raw materials in, I'll just modify that question. How do we ensure that we are the ones who will be more of manufacturers rather than being reliable on our raw materials or APIs in that case on different companies around?
So on that front, if I may put in, it's not just us from academia or industry, it's also from the government and regulations. The government has offered 4 districts for API manufacture, and they are also providing a lot of incentives for people to go and set up not just the API manufacturing facilities, but even manufacturing of all the intermediates that go into the API. So yes, the initiative is already on. From the student side, maybe if you all can show more interest in pharmaceutical chemistry and go in for those areas, probably it will help the API industry in bringing the products forward at a much faster rate. And not just that, I think Dharmesh, you can add on onto the excipient side of things. Being on the
Truly, ma'am.
excipient front, you can add on. I mean, there's a big need of pharma students and pharma professionals getting into excipient manufacturers, because currently excipients are not just standalone excipients like the starch or the talc or maxtiris that we were earlier talking about, but they are all modified excipients, modified to suit the product and modified to deliver the efficacy of the particular drug, say for example dissolution enhancers. So it's very important that we also pan out into these avenues which are open to us.
Thank you so much, ma'am. One more question in the chat box which says last question will be taking up. Further questions we shall continue on email. You can email us on to pharmaelite17 at the rate gmail.com. The question says, what is the main difference between the practicals in the lab, in the academia and industry? And what do you think about the academia practicals? Does the perspective of teachers needs to be changed?
I would like to answer this question. Uh,
Sure, ma'am.
what we learn in the academic practicals is the basic of each of the dosage forms or chemistry. The industry differs from it due to the economy of scale. What we do as 25 grams, 50 grams, or even when we do our research in MPharm or PhD, the quantity of the batches are very, very low. Industry always looks at very high scale batches, because of which there is automation required, huge machinery requirement, productivity has to be increased, because of which, if you look at the complete flow sheet of the manufacturing process, many fast scale equipment has to come in. And there is where now the new automation has come up. This is the main thing that is different between academics and the industry. Fast work is faster. About the academic practicals, I would say yes, they are taken up very well. I would suggest that to know the industry, the student should themselves come up for internship and give more time to internship in the industry. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, nowadays 1 week people go for internship. No, the exposure is only going to come when you go into the internship in the industry, or you take some mentorship from industry experts. Meet them, talk to them. Like Dr. Parizad said, attend some industry seminars, workshops. I would call them boot camps, where you go and really learn the tricks of the trade that the industry has. Thank you.
Thank you so
I
much,
would
ma'am.
like to add to that, Dharmesh.
Yeah, ma'am.
Can I add to that? Yeah.
Sure, ma'am.
One of the things what I find is there is no coordination or interlinking of the subject. Second is now say regulatory. Regulatory is one missing thing. So according to me, during the practicals, say if you keep the DNC Act, so they have to refer to the DNC Act or the pharmacopoeia, no, whatever preparation they are making, also bring in marketed products. So, and let them look at the label. Now, these are things which will open up the minds of the students. Again, the raw material, see, we just give them, for example, calcium carbonate, calcium gluconate. What they have to understand is when you use calcium gluconate, it should be IP grade or BP grade or some grade. So these are small things which need to be emphasized. So when they write their journal, they have to write calcium gluconate IP, right? Even on the label. These are small things which are often missed out, and then they go with that. So what you're using is quality material. So the QA and the uh, practicals. So in addition to basic principles, the regulatory points can be brought up during the practicals, right? Check up the schedules for expiry date, check whether schedule P, schedule X, no? So all this will make them look at the acts and know that there is a regulatory element when they're preparing the product.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Just to before concluding on the session, we would just like to inform you all we'll be commencing for the certificate courses from second week of November. The feedback link is being provided in the chat box. You can share your feedback, which will help us to improvise further. At the same time, there is one point which says interested in which course. So if you're interested in any of the courses, you can select one among them. The course duration is for 1 month. The sessions will be on weekends. It will be by all the industry experts only. There will be a MCQs based test at the end of the entire coursework, which will help us to grade you all. There will be one-to-one mentoring for each and every participant, and this entire coursework won't just include your certificate course with regards to the technical aspects of it. Along with it, you will also have different soft skill sessions in which will help you to face interviews right from the HR perspective and the technical perspective. With regards to who all can be a part of this certificate courses, it can be final year BPharm students, it can be MPharm students, PhD students, along with industry professionals and faculties or professors for different colleges. In order to get any details further, you can reach out to us onto the mentioned contact numbers 8433830815. At the same time, you can write us an email for any of your queries further as well. We'll be more than happy to help you all. The link for the brochure is being put up in the chat box. You can go on to this particular link and you can download the brochure of the certificate course for your reference. Thanks a lot for your valuable time, and I hope we could deliver to you our best and up to your expectations as well. Thank you so much.